Welcome to the Blue Room. We are back. It is the international break, but plenty going on from an Everton perspective. I am Matt Jones. Join us a little bit later on the show. Will be Alan Healy to talk all about Ireland's heroics during the break and the Everton links there with Seamus Coleman, Jacob O'Brien, and maybe Troy Parrott as well, a little bit further down the line with links to him. But joining us first today to talk about all things going on Everton Women, the lads, and just to have a nice chat in general, hopefully, is Sue Smith back on the show. Sue, how are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, I'm very good. How are you?
I'm great. I've actually really enjoyed this international break. I don't know about you. Like it feels like when you get to the end and the matches really mean stuff, that they're a lot more watchable and a lot more easy to engage with. And obviously, what happened with Ireland at the weekend, I don't know if you saw that, but it was incredible, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely incredible. Yeah, and I've been the same actually. I love watching England's. Like I always watch them, no matter if there's nothing on the game, if it's a friendly or if it is like competitive. So I always enjoy it. But yeah, I think this probably a little bit more. Like you say, Ireland's absolutely superb. It's always nice, isn't it, when there's a story like that? And yeah, that was great.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. So yeah, we'll catch up with Alan later. I think he was out having a few drinks on Sunday celebrating, but I'm sure he'll be well recovered by the time we catch up. So looking forward to see what he has to say. But just before we talk about Everton, Sue, how have you been getting on? Obviously, you know, our listeners and viewers will know you know pretty much everywhere now, doing so many different things. I mean, are you just constantly knackered? Because it seems as though whenever I turn the telly on at the moment, you're on doing something, which is obviously boss. But how are you finding things this season? It seems like you're doing so much work.
Yeah, do you know, I'm loving it. Yeah, absolutely loving it. I actually had a little sneaky break, this international break. So I did go away and have a few days, bit of a spa day, bit of a relax. So that was nice. But yeah, you know what? I would never ever complain about my work. I'm really lucky to do something that I really enjoy doing. So yeah, every Saturday with the boys on Soccer Saturday is great. Always good fun, always have a laugh. Apart from obviously when Everton don't win. And it's funny because this season, I hadn't seen Everton win. So every time they'd give me Everton, we'd drawn or lost. And I had so many people in like our local village saying, please tell me you're not doing Everton. Please tell me you're not doing them, you know, like season ticket holders and everything. And I got them against Fulham. And I was so tempted to text the producer and go, can I have another game, please? Because I was just like the bad luck charm. But yeah, we won, so maybe that's broken now. So maybe I'm okay. But yeah, no, I'm loving it. Doing a bit of Five Live as well. So actually getting to games, which is nice because I think it's great being in the studio, but actually getting to a game is that's just the best, isn't it? You know, you feel the atmosphere and you can just see a little bit more as well from like a tactical perspective rather than just watching it on a screen. You're actually there and you can see everything. So yeah, getting out and about as well. I won't be saying that when it's like -10 and snowing, but no, I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, especially at Hill Dickinson, the media are right up at the top, aren't they? So I mean, during winter, that could be brutal. But do you know what? I couldn't go to the Fulham game because I was on parenting duty, and like just while she was having a little nap, like I had Soccer Saturday on, and I saw you were doing it, and like it was just the first half I saw, and it was just constantly going back to you, and it was like another chance for Everton, another chance for Everton,
Yes.
goal for Everton, disallowed, just like the combination of Everton missing chances. Sue's doing the game. I was sort of like I was already ready for the 90th minute Fulham sucker punch winner.
I was the same. I thought, oh, this is just going to be one of those days. Yeah, these goals keep getting disallowed, missing chances. And I was like, I've definitely read this book before. I'm doing the game. And then, yeah, I was just so pleased to actually get now. If I do get the game, I won't get everybody, you know, all the people in our local village going, please don't do them. Please don't do them.
Oh, incredible. We'll talk about the lads in a little bit more detail later on. But obviously, over the weekend, Everton Women were in action. It's been pretty brutal for them, hasn't it? Recently, I think, you know, going back to the start of the season, obviously that first game at Anfield, they win in such emphatic fashion. It looks like they've got a new superstar in Onaya, and starting at Goodison, and they've had obviously the game at Hill Dickinson. It felt like everything was kind of there for them to really kick on and you know, develop this season. And I think with the investments and with them going to Goodison, I kind of just assumed that it would be not straightforward, but it felt like they were going to take another step forward. And I think it's probably fair to say the deer of the season was on Sunday against West Ham. You know, I text you during it, sort of saying, you know, feels quite alarming how bad they are here. I don't know how much of that you saw, or the highlights since, but it's a little bit worrying at the moment, isn't it? How much they've fallen off since that first week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm completely with you. I thought the same start of the season. I thought the way that, we'd invested into the team, brought in some really good players, some good young players, moving to Goodison Park. It just all felt super positive. Sorensen's, been there a while now. So I thought we'd really kick on this season. I didn't think we'd be challenging the likes of, like Chelsea and Man City and Arsenal, but I thought we'd be up there and I thought we'd be competing. So that first game of the season against Liverpool, brilliant. I was actually watching the game and Liverpool were the better team for large parts of it, but we were just so clinical. When we went forward, just the quality of Vignola, I thought she was outstanding. I thought superstar. They'll kick on. That'll give them confidence, because I think when you bring a lot of new players into a side, it's going to take time to gel. But the fact that they've gone and done that so early on, I thought that's really going to help them for the rest of the season. And it's just not quite happened. I've not watched every game 90 minutes, but I've certainly caught up with the highlights and things. And it looks like they play well in patches. It looks like you can see what they're trying to do, but maybe just too many errors defensively, not putting the chances away that they are creating. And I don't know if there's maybe that lack of experience and leadership there that, I know there's players injured that do have that and do carry that. But, against Man City, I thought they did okay. And against a very good side, could have actually got something from that. And then I thought, right, West Ham, team in and around them, they've got to go and get 3 points. And I thought they would. So that was disappointing. And that was slightly worrying for me that they didn't go and get the 3 points or even compete, really. That was the worry. West Ham looked like they're the organised side, the side that, probably, they deserve to win. And that's maybe the worry, I think, for me. And you just hope that it is just a case of it's taking time, and once those experienced players come back and once those players have maybe adapted a little bit more, I don't know, were our expectations set too high when we went and beat Liverpool on the opening day? I don't know, but yeah, he certainly needs to start picking up points and quickly.
Do you feel, because I think we both sort of hinted there about everything being set up for them, and obviously the Goodison Park thing was huge, and obviously they were there on the last day of the season at Goodison last year when the lads played Southampton. There's been so much talk and coverage around it, and I'm sure they would have to do a lot more media around this sort of thing. Obviously going from Walton Hall Park from just a physical perspective and getting to the match to Goodison's, it's going to be different. I mean, as a former player, is that something that maybe I think we all sort of assumed it would be something that would embolden them and encourage them, but it's a young squad. There's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of pressure on them, isn't there, to be that first women's team in the first year at Goodison. And they played obviously the first women's game at Hill Dickinson against Manchester United recently and got well beaten. There's obviously different personalities in that squad. For some, it will be a big boost, and for others, it might take a bit of time to get used to.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. And that's the thing. I think you fit well. I was looking at it thinking, wow, they're playing at Goodison Park. That's amazing as a player. That's exactly what I would have wanted to do. I signed for Donny Bells because I literally went to the stadium and played at the Keepmoat, and I was like, this is brilliant. This is where I want to play. But then for others, it might be a little bit daunting, especially you say, younger players that are coming in for, their first season, they're trying to adapt. There is pressure and maybe there is expectation, because I think I was certainly looking at Everton and looking at the players and looking at the investment and thinking they're going to do well here. So are they just taking time to adapt to that, I suppose, adapt to that pressure and feeling that, like you say, they had their home in Walton Hall Park, they knew everything about it. I think as players, we like routine and we like, things being the same. So I think when something changes and we think it's a change for the better, which I think it will be certainly in the long term, but just in the short term, are they just getting to grips with that maybe? And I'm sure this is something that's being discussed and it's being spoken about, why, aren't we performing at the levels that maybe we're expected to perform at? But I certainly think playing at Goodison Park's a good thing. And I think a lot of them will will relish it, but then there may be some that are just finding it a little bit scary. I suppose it's a big stadium, isn't it, compared to Walton Hall Park, and getting more fans in the ground. And I don't know, there's got to be something, because they're not quite where they should be at the moment, and that has to be a factor. There's a lot of contributing factors, but I certainly think that has to be a factor as well.
Yeah, I think it feels like on the other side of that, like other teams coming to Goodison as well are going to be like, this is all one opportunity to sort of this season to play in, like they're sort of incentivized, and I suppose that's a thing as well. And I don't know, it just feels like, watching some of the games this season, like it feels like the quality in the WSL in general is just going up so fast, like across the league. And Everton have obviously gone out and tried to invest and bring in new players to kind of bring up that level of quality, but they've had this like huge change as well, which has maybe been tough to kind of integrate it into all that. And other teams just kind of gradually making progress, bringing in better players, better tactically, all these things. And Everton they're trying to do that, but they've had this massive sort of culture change really in regards to where they're playing.
Yeah, it is, and I think that probably has been the problem, hasn't it? And like when you watch the games, you can see what they're trying to do. I can see, okay, they're trying to like build up from the back here. You can see the movement from like the midfielders, but sometimes it looks a bit too robotic, if you know what I mean. It looks a bit like, right, we've been told to do that on the training ground. That's what we're going to do no matter what. So they're playing out from the back. A team's pressing them high. They're winning the ball back. They're losing it, but they're carrying on doing it. And that again is that youth, is that I have to do what the manager and the coaches are telling me, rather than actually I'm going to look at the situation. This is a time to just go long. They're pressing us. We're making mistakes. We're conceding goals. Let's just get rid. Let's just turn them round for the next 2 minutes or so. And that's where you need those big characters, I suppose, to say that, to implement that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and that just comes with time, doesn't it? That comes with more training on the training ground, so that Brian can get his ideas across to them, so that they are doing it, but they are doing it consistently well, because they'll do it. I can't remember which game it was. There was a game I watched it's probably a couple of games ago now, and some of their play was brilliant. Like they started from the keeper, it went all the way through the midfield, into the forwards, created a chance, then they missed it, and then they'd do it again and they'd miss again, and then the other team would score, and then you could see they were like, oh, it just got deflated. And again, that is a young thing, isn't it? So in patches they're doing well, which gives me a little bit of hope, but it's just not happening for the whole 90 minutes, which is then the worry, where other teams, like you said, because they are getting better, the standards improving, tactically they're better, they'll know where maybe Everton's weaknesses are, they're capitalising on it. So yeah, that's just where you just hope in time that will be better. But there's a lot of change, isn't there? There's change in players, there's change in a new stadium, and that obviously has a negative effect, which I didn't think it was going to have. When you go win the opening game in the derby, you think that's going to give them huge amounts of confidence for the rest of the season. Just didn't happen.
Yeah, just interesting what you said there about like the senior players in the dressing room at this point, in regards to the style. Like I imagine you would have been in that position when you're the senior player in a dressing room and things necessarily aren't going very well, and like there are younger players and less experienced players who are looking up to you. Like that must be. I suppose people are looking to them, but it must be quite difficult for them as well, because I suppose if they're saying, we need to go long a little bit more here, we need to play a little bit more direct, and they're kind of going against what the manager's saying, who's very much went into this playing out from the back system. Like, I suppose in some sense it could be helpful in regards to getting through that game and getting through that period of the match, but going against the manager, like, if you get what I mean, like, it must be quite a fine balance in regards to when to sort of take ownership of that and when to just to keep listening to the manager regardless of how things are going and what the score is.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's even hard as an experienced player, isn't it? Your manager's telling you to play a certain way. You don't want to completely go against that, but then at the same time, there's probably like times in a game, there were times where I was just watching and I was thinking, you keep losing the ball, you keep trying to do the same things, you keep getting caught. I think if I was a player on there, I'd be like, we've got to turn them. Got to try and just avoid that press and just go long, even for, like I say, just for a few minutes, just to relieve a bit of pressure and get a bit of confidence and a bit of rhythm back in your play. But I'm not saying, completely like go against the manager, because that is hard as like an experienced player, a young player. You want to play the way that he wants you to play. But I think sometimes you just got to take ownership yourself and go, actually, it's not working. We need to do something a little bit different here. So it is very much a fine balance, because you don't want to get hooked, do you? Your manager tell you to do one thing, you got an experienced player telling you to do the other. And you don't want the manager going, right, you're not doing what I want you to do, get off, and we'll put someone else on that will. So it is a fine balance, definitely.
Yeah, it's they've got Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, and City away in the next 3. So tough. That is tough. And I think, like, just finally on this, from my perspective, I think, like, it's going to be interesting now what, how much scrutiny there is on this team. Obviously, I think the new owners, the freaking group have sort of gone on the record that they're going to play really close attention to the women's team. They've obviously backed Brian and the son with some big name signings. Like, given where they are on the table and those fixtures coming up, it's tough, isn't it? It's really tough for them at the moment. And I think, I've not seen anything to suggest like he's sort of on the brink of losing his job yet. But like, there's going to be a lot of pressure, a lot of focus on this team and certainly the manager over the next few weeks, isn't there?
Yeah, there'll be scrutiny, and I did the same as you. I looked at who their next games were and thought, that's where they just had to beat West Ham, didn't they? They had to get those 3 points just as a little bit of a buffer, and then those 3 games are just like, let's see what we can get out of them. Obviously, Chelsea dropped points, didn't they, at the weekend? And you think, with Champions League and things like that, they're trying to, rotate players. Some players are tired, and is it a good time to maybe play those teams? I don't know. I suppose we'll sort of wait and see, won't we? But if they could get something out of one of those games, it's a bit of positivity to take forward. So yeah, there's bound to be pressure, on Brian because of the investment. There's bound to be scrutiny, and us in the media will certainly put that on him if things continue to not work out. But I think maybe there's enough little positive shoots that we're seeing, but it's about points, isn't it? It's about, you don't want Everton being, bottom of the table, won the first game of the season and then really struggle since then. If they're starting to pick up points and you're starting to see progress, players are starting to come back, because I think Gago was injured, wasn't she, at the weekend? So you think having her back, she does make a difference. When you see her in the team, she certainly she's that sort of presence, isn't she? And got that little bit of quality. So yeah, he's bound to be feeling it himself. He'll be thinking, right, what can I do? What can the players do? But obviously, what can I do better to get this team going further up and start challenging? So yeah, you never know. If they can get something out of those 3 games, then it'll be a boost for them, I'm sure.
Yeah, like, I obviously don't want anyone to like lose a job or anything, but like, it's encouraging to me, like, there is pressure on this team and on the manager, because I think for so long under the previous owners, like, the women's team was kind of neglected and a bit of an afterthought because the club was in such financial crisis. And, you want standards to be raised. Like, I want to see Everton women, like, like you said, being the best of the rest in the next few years and, getting on to challenge like Chelsea, Manchester City and Arsenal in the next few years. So, like, I think it's good that there's the standards and there's pressure, but obviously, fingers crossed that they can start to turn it around. Albeit that is a brutal run of fixtures. Let's move on to talk about the lads, Sue. But first of all, I'm not speaking about the new stadium yet. I mean, how many times have you been? Do you love it? Is it a bit weird? What are your thoughts on it?
Do I love it? And I was talking to one of my good mates who's, he's a season ticket holder, and he was saying, I think the best thing that I can say about the stadium is that I'm not really missing Goodison. And I thought that's actually a really nice way of looking at it, because he just said, I just feel like it's home. And I went, so I've been once as a fan against Wolves, and that was the Monday night one, wasn't it?
Was that West Ham, was it?
West Ham, not Wolves, sorry, West Ham, yeah.
We have played Wolves twice this season already, so.
Yeah, I know, oh my gosh. It's like they all just merge into one, don't they? Yeah, it was the Monday night one, so obviously I wasn't working. So I went there, and then I actually did the Spurs game for 5 Live, which wasn't the greatest, but just brilliant. I just look like, I just think it's outstanding. You walk out and like Zedcars is playing, and it's just so loud. And I would have loved to have gone to the Palace game. I actually watched the Palace game on telly. When Grealish scored at the end, and just the roar. It was just like you were, I'm sure you were there and experienced that. Just sounded amazing. But yeah, it's a quality stadium. But of course, Goodison Park's in all our hearts, isn't it? And it's like, lots of memories and things there. But I think once you've gone, okay, we're going to move on to something different. Yeah, I love it. I don't know what you think of it, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah, like I agree. Like the Matt Grealish moments, obviously, sort of the high points of it so far. Like I'm in the south stand, so it's so steep. It was it did feel a bit dangerous, like just the way people are jumping around and like almost falling forward and stuff. And like listen, there are obviously going to be teething problems. I mean, you wouldn't have seen this coming out of the Spurs game because you were working, but like I left on about 85, and there was I'm sure you've seen the videos on social media. There was like Scouse House playing and like a sort of music outside, like it was a big party. It was pissing down, and everyone was like, "Just want to get home. Like we don't need any of this." But yeah, there are gonna be things out there which are taking a bit of time. But like,
yeah,
it's still. I've probably been now 5-6 times to watch the match, and like 3-4 times for media wise. So like getting close to double figures now. But like it still feels like an occasion, and like going there, and I feel like you still experience something new, and that's cool. And like even stuff like going to see it in the winter, like if there's like a bit of frost, or like when we get to the springtime, like all that, I think is going to be class. But like the lads have dealt with it well, I think, haven't they, as well, in regards to the change? Like, we spoke just before about how easy, well, how difficult it's been for the girls going to Goodison and the pressure, and you see teams move in to new ground sometimes, and it can take them time. But we've only had that Spurs game, which we've lost there. Obviously, really comfortable win against Fulham, as we were talking about, and by and large, they've done all right there, haven't they? Without being spectacular, really, and like absolutely smashing anybody, but they seem to have coped with that pretty big transition quite well.
Yeah, because there was a lot of like reports before, obviously Everton going into the new stadium and talking about other teams that have maybe moved and struggled, and it's been difficult to adapt, and it's taken that little bit of time. So I think that was a worry for a lot of us, wasn't it? But yeah, before the Spurs game, we were unbeaten there, weren't we? And I remember saying like how well they've done and how they've adapted really well, and then they go get beat by Spurs. But obviously I was doing the game, so that was probably why. But even in that, I thought, we played all right. Again, created chances, just didn't take the chances, and got done on set pieces, which we don't normally do. So it was a bizarre one, that, because I felt like we were playing well, just not scoring, and that was the worry, that if they got an opportunity and they took it. But yeah, no, I think they've adapted well. I think it helps having like players like Grealish, who is just used to that sort of environment, if you like. He's used to playing in a big stadium and having focus on him, and he's not bothered, is he? He's quite happy to just go and get the ball and take us up the pitch. And Jai, who's been just absolutely outstanding, hasn't he? I keep trying not to talk about him too much on the telly because I'm like, let's not big him up too much, even though everyone knows how good he is, because yeah, he's just been an absolute class act. And just players like that just seem to enjoy it. And that's what you want. You don't want the fear factor. You want players to go out and be a little bit to show off, I suppose. Let's show off and show what we can do to all of these people coming to watch us. And yeah, I think it's helped having players like that.
Obviously, you watched them against Fulham, as we mentioned there. Like it was a weird game, that, because obviously going into it felt massive, but it was so routine that everyone sort of shrugged their shoulders afterwards and be like, yeah, just turned up, did a good job.
Yeah.
1-2-0, no problem. But I think going into that game, on the back of the Sunderland match, which I think, obviously, you look at the results, I think at the point there is pretty good, but the performance for large spells was pretty poor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously, it's weird, isn't it, the league at the moment, because we're sat in 13th, we're on 15 points, we're 5 points ahead of the relegation zone, and we're 5 points behind third. So it's one of those situations where, coming the other side of the international break, this obviously big period of fixtures coming up now with Christmas, there is a chance for them to kick on there, isn't there? And I don't think anyone's sitting there saying this team should be in Europe, or if we don't get any European places, it's been a bad season. But it still feels like a season and a team which is on a bit of a knife edge to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think because the league is so condensed at the moment, like you say, you think, oh, well, comfortably mid-table. But actually, when you look at it, the amount of points towards the relegation, the points towards like Europe is very tight. And it's weird because I feel like there was such a positivity about Everton, wasn't there? For a long time through the start of the season, everyone's saying like new stadium, they're playing well, Jack Grealish and Jai, like Dewsbury Hall, like lots of like focus on Everton being really good and really positive. And then just before the Fulham game, like a stat came out where we'd only won 1 in 8. And I thought, oh, wow, like we actually do need to win this game, just to keep that, that positivity so that the negativity doesn't sort of creep in. And then it was just a very comfortable performance, one that we deserved to win. We did win, could have been more, obviously had all those goals ruled out. And it was just very straightforward. And you look at this team and you think, I still feel we're a work in progress. I still think that obviously the striker issue, which I'm sure you've debated a lot on this show, the fullback area, I don't know what you think, but I thought James Garner did a brilliant job in there, playing as he's obviously a midfielder, isn't he? And he's got that quality on the ball, so he can come into midfield, he can invert into those areas and, just add an extra body in there. He's fit as anything. I'd love to know how many miles he runs in a game because he just never, ever stops. So, we'll get forward, he'll get back. And, is he like a bit of a stopgap? I don't know, until we do actually invest in that area. So we are a work in progress. There's areas that we certainly do need to develop, and obviously the striker being the main one, but, in the fullback areas as well. My worry is obviously Idrissa Gueye, 36, is he? And he, again, is just an absolute machine, just keeps going and going and going. But you just think at some point, he's somebody that does need to be replaced. Do we have players that can step up and do what he does? I don't know.
We've got AFCON as well, haven't we? Him and Jai will be going off to AFCON in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
So that's, they're massive gaps to fill, aren't they, both of them?
They are. They really are. So, I think I think we're a work in progress, but I certainly think we can kick on with, the quality that we've got in those attacking areas in terms of the 3 behind the 1, whoever you play in that sort of number 10 role. But but then your worry is you lose a few games. Obviously, Manchester United on Monday. You think if you start losing those games, then you start creeping then down. You then looking over your shoulder. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm quite confident this year, but I say this to you every year, don't I? I'm always quite confident going into the season. And I am again. And I think, the more I've watched them, the more I've got that sort of positivity that we can go and get results, because we do have quality now that maybe we haven't had in the past.
Yeah. Like the final thing I was going to ask you about was that United game. And I just feel like we owe them. Like they've been so bad for the last few years, because like every time they turned up at Goodison, or we've gone to, I went to that 4-0 there last season when we were absolutely horrific, and I think I left on 46 because we were 3-0 down. But it feels like that's sort of what, not necessarily this team, but like just like the club in general. Like our record in these games at these grounds against the top teams. Like obviously you always go into them as like an underdog, because these sides have been so good for so long, but. Like United, Old Trafford in recent years, we've kind of gone there and rolled over. Like even Liverpool this season, we went there and they were vulnerable and we didn't get over the line. Our record at Chelsea is horrific. Our records at Arsenal is horrific. Like there's just something about these games that, not just this team, but like over the past 20, 30 years, we've just always lost or never been able to quite get over the line and get a win. It feels like if we just went there, even though United aren't great at the moment, obviously they've had a bit of a better form recently, but if we went there and won one of these games against one of these teams, like I feel like it'd have such a transformative impact on the team and the fans and the club in general.
Yeah, it'd make just a massive difference just psychologically, wouldn't it? Like I remember for England, I never beat Germany. So every time we went into a game against Germany, you'd go in thinking, right, we're positive. We've like done a really good training week. We're all like absolutely flying. And then a goal would go in and straight away you'd be like, oh yeah, it's Germany. Like we never beat Germany. And then as soon as the girls beat Germany, it's just a different mindset. You then think you can beat anyone, don't you? And it does feel like a similar sort of thing. And I know these players have got a good, strong mindset and stuff, like the likes of Grealish, who's obviously won a lot of major things. but yeah, you just feel they go to Old Trafford, they get a good win, a good performance. That'll certainly help them kick on. You just hope that that's the case. And it is just, it's that old thing of, you get an opportunity, you've got to take it. And that's just been our problem all season, hasn't it? Where, we've created something, we haven't scored, and then it's like, they then get themselves back into the game. You just think, you get to Manchester United, we have to do that. We get that chance, we've got to take it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I feel about that game. I'm a little bit worried because of past performances and results against them, but then I do feel that we've got enough to go and compete against them, and we know their frailties. Yes, they've improved of late, and they've certainly picked up, but they have got vulnerabilities that there's no reason why we can't try and sort of capitalize on them.
Yeah, totally agree. And at least Anthony Martial's not there anymore either.
Yeah.
Just sick of the sight of that lad. Even when he was hobbling around on one leg at the end of his United career, he'd still score against us one day. But yeah, Sue, great to speak to you as ever. Where can people catch you this weekend? What have you got planned in terms of work over the next few days?
So what have I got? So I've got, I'm actually doing Women's Champions League tomorrow. That's on Disney. And then I've got soccer Saturday, but I'm doing the goal zone. So I'm doing the earlier games. So all of the sort of Championship League 1 and League 2. So we take it in turns, we rotate on that one. And then Colin Murray on Sunday. So a bit of chat on all the games on the Sunday. So yeah, back to it now. After my nice little relax, back to it. All good though, all good fun. And then I'll be sitting down waiting to watch Everton beat Manchester United on Monday.
Good stuff. Love all that. Thanks very much to Sue. Make sure you check her out over the weekend on Sky, Disney, BBC, whatever else. Always great stuff. We will take a quick break, and then afterwards we'll check in with Alan, who's going to tell us all about what it feels like to be an Irishman after their amazing win over Hungary on Sunday.